state your name and spell it?
All right, my name is Cammie Mary Elizabeth Dean. Cammie is C-A-M-M-I-E, Mary M-A-R-Y, Elizabeth E-L-I-Z-A-B-E-T-H, Dean, D-E-A-N. I usually do motivational speaking, and when I introduce myself, I explain that Cammie Mary Elizabeth means bittersweet gift of God. Dean means that I'm meant to be a teacher, and so I'm called to tell the truth. And it's not always good news, but I do.
Okay, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Texas at Fort Walters Airport, which was slightly west of Dallas, Fort Worth. And I grew up my first 5 years in Mineral Wells, Texas, which is a very small town that nobody's ever heard of. And then we moved to Fort Worth, where I lived until I graduated from high school.
Okay. Where did you go to school, starting from elementary down to college?
I started school at Willis Cartwright Elementary. That was at Carswell Air Force Base. It was a very diverse school. There were kids from all over the world, kids from all over the country. When I went into the 4th grade, I actually took the ITBS test, the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, and did really well. And they recruited me for a special school across town. So beginning in the 4th grade, I was bused across town to a school called North Highmount, where a lot of rich kids went. And I was the only black kid in my class for the 4th grade and 5th grade. And I was also the poorest kid in the class, which is always interesting. For elementary school, for middle school, I went to Stripling Middle School. That was actually almost all black. But I was still in a magnet program, and so all the kids in the program with me were white. I was the only black kid in the class. And I was there for 2 years. Then I switched schools. Irma Marsh Middle School was where I went in the 8th grade. All-white school in a very poor district. And then for high school, I stayed in that district and went to Castleberry High School, which is where I graduated.
Okay. How long have you lived in Iowa?
I have been in Iowa for 20 years as of this year.
Okay. What brought you to Dubuque?
I came to Dubuque for a job. I came to Iowa to go to college, the University of Iowa. And after I spent too long there, studying and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and changing my major 8 times, which is a really bad thing to do. Don't do that when you go to college. I graduated and decided that I actually wanted to stay at a college, but as an employee, as a mentor, because there were some people that I met along the way that really changed my life, and because of that I wanted to turn around and do the same thing for someone else. So when I looked for a job, I found a job at Clarke College in Dubuque, Iowa. I've been here ever since.
Okay. Can you talk about your family, and do you have any family in Dubuque?
Well, my immediate family, it's just myself and my daughter Viola, who you all know. My mother, my father, my sister, and her kids and husband are all still in Texas. So it's just us anywhere close to here.
What is your impression of Iowa?
My impression of Iowa. Iowa is, it's an interesting place. It's obviously very rural. It's a lot of small towns and a lot of small town mentalities. And for me, that means that there are good people who work hard and want the best for their families and their communities, but at the same time, it means they've not been exposed to a whole lot. The fact that Iowa is less than 2% black really stands out for me, and it really has impacted my life and the life of my daughter. But I think that in the 20 years I've been here, there have been a lot of changes. And even Dubuque is becoming more diverse, which I find very exciting.
Okay. What What do you do for entertainment when you were young?
When I was young, for entertainment, we still had to go outside and play. That's what your parents told you, and that's what you did. And you made it up as you went along. Sometimes you had toys, and sometimes you didn't. Sometimes you picked up sticks and used your imagination. And we stayed out till it was dark and played hide and seek in the dark until about 45 minutes after the street lights came on, and then we could go back in the house. That was the way it was. So we made it up as we went along.
Okay. How has the civil rights movement affected you?
The civil rights movement was before my time. I'm not that old. But I know that it has affected me because I wouldn't have had many of the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't have had the education that I've had if it hadn't been for the changes that happened during the civil rights movement. My great-grandfather, Savoy Nixon, was a civil rights worker. He was a preacher in East Texas, and he marched and he spoke, and he went all the way to Washington and sat in the office at the White House with President Kennedy while he read out one of his proclamations about changes that would happen. And so I come from a family that was very committed to the changes that happened with the civil rights movement. I know that I got the best education I could because there were programs in place trying to make changes from things that had happened in the past. I know that my mother, for example, could not have stepped foot in the school with the rich kids that I went to. And I know that they probably had to have me there. They had to find some black kid with good grades to bring into that program so they could say that they were making a change. But regardless of why they brought me in there, they did. And I took full advantage of it and got the best education that I could. And had it not been for the civil rights movement, I wouldn't have been able to do that.